Now we review Rebel Moon, Child of Fire. Oh, this is so aggressively cheesy! So ladies and gentlemen, I am Richard, and I have seen Rebel Moon, Child of Fire. Before I go any further, let me of course remind you, for every 1,000 subscribers I do purchase one of these bracelets from 4Ocean. 4Ocean pulls a pound of trash out of the ocean every time I do that. I am not affiliated with 4Ocean. I'm just trying to save the world. So comment, like, and subscribe. Do all that good stuff. Anyway, this movie is a ripoff of a ripoff of a ripoff of one of the greatest movies ever made. Okay? So it goes like this. The first, which direction do I go in? Rebel Moon is a ripoff of Battle Beyond the Stars, which is a ripoff of The Magnificent Seven, which is a Western, which is a ripoff of Seven Samurai, which is a Japanese film. Okay? Seven Samurai is a movie where they recruit a group of samurai to stop some bandits who are harassing a small town. It is a story of few triumphing over many, hardship, and heart. Magnificent Seven, which I have never seen, is the same thing, only with cowboys instead of samurai. Battle Beyond the Stars is what would happen if the Magnificent Seven and Star Wars banged and had a kid, okay? And then this movie is what would happen if that kid had a child with Alien 3. Because it has the gothic horror color palette of Alien 3, and they also had an affair with Warhammer. I've never played Warhammer, but it definitely has some very Warhammer-esque vibes to it. What happens is a dreadnought shows up at this little town looking for rebels and says, okay, give us all your food or we'll kill you. We'll be back in 10 weeks. And by the way, we're leaving some soldiers to abuse your women in the 10 weeks period. And because they wind up, not being happy about soldiers abusing their women, this warrior chick who used to be one of the... They're not Nazis. They're space Russians. She used to be a space Russian, and she's going to go and drum up some soldiers to defend this town. And why do I call them Russians? Well, for one thing, they're talking about their dead monarch, which is something that happened in Russia, is the Tsar were killed, their version of kings and queens and such were murdered, and, that's what they had, is that, now the king is dead, and instead of them being a communist country, they continued the monarchy and spoke in the name of the king. If you look at the uniforms, yes, they do appear slightly German in nature, but the color schemes to them, the bling to them, is all very, very Russian. They are very, very Russian uniforms, and there's more of a Russian tone. There's a lot of ice and cold and things, which of course is very Russian. When you screw up in Russia, they send you to Siberia, which is the frozen tail end of the universe on Earth. So this is what's going on. Now, because it's a Zack Snyder film, it has your typical Zack Snyder, incredible visuals, ridiculous slow-mo, and the central chick is hot. I mean, she is hot enough, it's a little androgynous, but it's definitely hot enough to keep my interest. Very much enjoyed seeing this 90-pound girl taking out men 3 times her size for no good reason. yeah, it's dumb. It challenges your ability to believe it, because on the one hand she should be an incredible fighter, but on the other hand there's just nothing to her. And you look at this particular woman, and she should have big muscles from working on a farm. You know, she should be a much rounder shoulders. That's one of those things. She probably should have bulked up for this role, because, you know, she would be strong, but she would have the fast reflexes of a soldier because of her history. So yeah, but I mean, she just doesn't look like these characters. She doesn't look like the character she's supposed to be. Her fighting techniques are movie-esque, but good enough. But I mean, just understand that the difference between this character being a strong female who can take out men twice her size is very different from, say, Linda Hamilton's role in Terminator, where she used technique and her environment and skill to take down men that were much larger than her size. This chick can just punch them out. Very different. And then there's the very simple premise of, I mean, you guys realize that dreadnought doesn't need to even come send troops down. They could just hit you from orbit and you'd never know it. You'd be dead before you realized it. In fact, there's like one point where I'm pretty sure the dreadnought destroys the population of an entire world. And it's just, yeah. And that brings us, in addition to the aggressive stupidity of this movie, there is the simple fact of, you guys realize that there was a certain civility to the Empire in Star Wars that, you know, it's like people were like, okay, don't piss off the Emperor, everything will be fine. We never really saw Imperial troops abusing the populace in the original trilogy, at least. I don't know about in the other films, but I haven't seen them all. But that was the thing. I mean, remember, in A New Hope or the original Star Wars, there is a moment when Luke wants to join the Empire. He sees them as the good guys. That's what he believes, because it's possible to see them as the good guys. In this particular movie, this is impossible. You could not see these people as the good guys. They are so aggressively evil. Very aggressive movie. They want to be evil. They're like, yes, we're going to come to your village and take all your food and kill your leader and burn your houses and steal this and steal that. And yeah, okay, this hodgepodge of evil from various other movies is very evil. And in truth, it is very Russian. The Russians are like that. They do evil things. Just ask the Ukrainians. But also understand that this is a galactic empire here, and not a nation on a planet. The Russians didn't last that long, at least from a standpoint of nations, as a unified conglomerate. And right now, you know, we're seeing just how pathetic they are as a nation. They do not have a functioning aircraft carrier. And it may have more to do with mismanagement than just sheer evilness. But yeah, you know, if you put the Russians in charge of the First Order or whatever the current empire is in Star Wars, they'd screw it up pretty quickly. You know, they were incompetent thieves who stole all the money from their war machine and used it to enrich their own pockets. In this movie, these people would probably not be very capable of keeping a massive empire together. You know, it's just one of those things. From what I have learned of the Russians, they never really had a naval fleet that could challenge the American fleet. They never really, I mean, they had the technology, but they did not have the numbers. they had this and they had that, but they never came close to us. So here's the movie version of that, and we have to make them big and scary. But you do have to understand that at a certain point it has to be believable. And if you go around killing your entire populace, you don't have people to keep the economy running. So that would probably be frowned upon. So in the end, Rebel Moon, it goes to the lower middle of your watch list. It is a fun movie. It is an entertaining movie. I was able to sit through the entire thing without going, oh dear Lord, when will this end? In certain ways, I found it more entertaining than Saltburn, which is an incredibly well-acted and well-put-together movie. But it is also a very dumb movie. You turn your head off. You don't think too hard about it. You eat some popcorn. You perhaps drink a beer, have a slice of pizza, and get through it. And that's just what it is. Different movies are for different things. Some movies are wonderful, painful pieces of art that force you to consider the people you interact with. That would be a film like Saltburn. There are some movies that are awesome fights and special effects and cool visuals and not much substance. That would be Rebel Moon, Child of Fire. Yeah, it talked so long in that one that the camera shut off. Anyway, yeah, like I said, Rebel Moon, Child of Fire, definitely entertaining, really dumb movie, awesome special effects. It does go on your watch list somewhere around the middle, possibly lower middle, depending on your personal taste. If you're a sci-fi nut like me, you're going to love it. I love cheesy sci-fi, and this is cheesy sci-fi with a high budget. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours down in the comments below. I'm Richard. Greetings, folks. Fred the Facehugger here, reminding you to comment, like, and subscribe. And why should you do that? Because for every 1,000 subscribers, Ram Street Theater here will pull a pound of trash out of the ocean. That's through the company 4Ocean. And why? Why do we pull trash out of the ocean? Because your world is dying. Care about your world, comment, like, and subscribe. It's not that hard.